RIPs, welcome back to another video. I got a video about Jackie Robinson. This is something that they don't really talk about, which is more about the end of his life rather than what we know him for, which is integration and to the Major League Baseball, which is not necessarily always true. There was actually another, first black man who integrated baseball. It's actually I have it on this other tab right here. I'm gonna do a video on him, but it was Moses Fleetwood Walker. He actually was in the Major League Baseball in the 1800s, 1884. He actually was in there. And people may wonder, why haven't I never heard of him? When I type in the black baseball player, it shows Jackie Robinson and not him. You got to type in the 1800s, you'll see Fleetwood Walker. And that's because they don't really want you to think that the so-called black man was anything before Jim Crow. Like he was just suffering and he was a slave and he was just trying to survive. When a lot of our people had a lot of professions, we were lawyers, we were doctors, we were business owners, we were in a professional baseball, we were jockeys. We had so many things going on, and they just don't want you to know that. They want you to think that you're only important when you integrate with Caucasians. So that's just one thing. Matter of fact, before we get to the Jackie Robinson, let's just actually go into this story first. Then we'll make another video about Jackie Robinson. So let's go. 6 decades before Jackie Robinson, this man broke baseball's color barrier. 63 years before Jackie Robinson became the first African American in modern era to play in a Major League Baseball game, Moses Fleetwood Walker debuted in the league on May 1st, 1884, with the Toledo Blue Stockings in a 5-1 loss against the Louisville Eclipse. Walker, a 26-year-old African American barehanded catcher, he he was barehanded. He was catching ball barehanded as a catcher. Oh my goodness, his hands were made out of rocks. From Mount Pleasant, Ohio, had abandoned his law studies a year earlier at the University of Michigan to play with the Blue Stockings. And that's what's wild because our people used to study law, study medicine, we were studying education, we were the professors. That's why it's like it was very education was always valued in our community. It's only recently that we kind of have this backward mentality where good is bad and chaos is peace, and we have that type of mentality now. But our back in the day, we used to, like baseball was that was plan B. The plan A was going to law school. But let's keep going. According to Sporting Life, Toledo suffered greatly through the errors of Walker, who made three terrible throws in his debut. I can imagine he was catching the ball barehanded. I'm sure he probably couldn't feel his hand after catching on them fastballs. But the Toledo Blade drew a different picture of his performance. Walker is one of the most reliable men in the club, but his poor playing in a city where the color line is closely drawn, as it is in Louisville, should not be counted against him, reported the newspaper. Many a good player under less gravitating many a good player under less gravitating circumstances than this has become rattled and unable to play. In 42 games with the Blue Stockings that year, Walker had a .263 batting average with 40 hits and 23 runs scored. For those of y'all don't know about baseball statistics, basically goes up to 1,000. So he had like 2.63. So that's saying like out of 10 at bats, he hit the ball about 2.5 times. So a good batting average is 300.300. So a good batting average is that 10 bats, you hit the ball 3 out of 10 times. So he was a little bit below average in these 42 games. He made his last MLB appearance on September 4th, 1884, after suffering a broken rib early in the season. Catchers did not yet wear protective pads, but racist objections to integrating baseball lay at the root of his release from the team. Before a game in Richmond, Toledo's manager, Charlie Morton, received a letter declaring that a lynch mob of 75 men would attack Walker if he tried to take the field in the former Confederate capital. Walker didn't make the trip to Virginia. So even at that time, so much racism was being amped up after the end of slavery. And they were doing that because, basically in order to keep the so-called black men subjugated, they had to empower the poor whites. they had to make them feel like they were better than the average black person. You know, even if they came from the same environment, just because you had quote unquote white skin, you were seen as superior to the black man. So whenever you saw a black man who, so-called black man who was, doing something good, you would, try to, put him down, try to crush his dreams, try to destroy his business, try to destroy his venture, his achievements. So that's what was empowering the so-called poor whites in order to kind of feel like they're part of the upper echelon of the elite whites. While most of his white Toledo teammates supported him, at least one shared the racist views of many of their opponents. He was the best catcher I ever worked with, said Toledo star pitcher Tony Mullane in a 1919 interview. But I disliked the Negro, and whenever I had to pitch to him, I used anything I wanted without looking at his signals. he was he was the best catcher he ever had, but he never listened to him. Okay. All right, man. People say anything, man. By the time Walker retired from baseball in 1889, after bouncing around in the minor leagues, MLB owners had established a gentleman's agreement that would keep African Americans off rosters until Robinson joined the Brooklyn Dodgers in 1947. In his life after baseball, Walker became an inventor, cinema owner, author, newspaper editor, and a fierce advocate for the immigration of African Americans to Africa, because he was probably done with America. He was like, I'm did all this stuff and I'm still treated like this. He was gone. And a lot of brothers, they get so frustrated with America that they really do have these sentiments to just move somewhere else. And I don't blame them, because, America is very frustrating. You really give your all and you realize that, it's not really set up for you. But that's also a sense of our idolatry. We want America to hug us and love us because we give so much energy towards America when we should be giving that energy to the Most High. So that's our problem as so-called black people. We're expecting America to be the God that we forsaken, when the God that we forsaken is the Most High. The scriptures, we have to go back to him in the spirit of truth. And he's the one that will embrace us. It won't be America. But a lot of our people have this idolatry towards America. And that's our downfall. And that's why we get so interested in other places like going to Africa. And that's why you got the passport bros. And, people just want to find a wife in a different country because they just get so, drawn out and worn down by America. But, at the same time, you got to put the Most High first, because even in your captivity, even in a place like America, he'll still give you a place of rest, even if it's a temporary place, a place to bow your head. As the scriptures say, he provides a table for us in the presence of our enemies. Even in, place right now, we can still have segments of rest, even though we're not in our rest, if we put him first and we really, hold on to what he wants us to do. So then you won't have to, try to search out for peace in another foreign land or something like that. You can find it here, or the Most High will find you where you're at. But I'm not going to read the whole story, the whole article. You can check it out. It's on the history.com website. But that's the brother right there. But that's another brother right here. Got to read about him. Oh, who's that? One of those pictures are brothers Moses Fleetwood Walker and Weldie Wilberforce Walker. So this is his brother. So I'll say a bunch of see his brothers. They were all, we were everywhere, man. Well, don't let the narrative just tell you that we weren't anything until integration, man. Because we have a vast history, especially in antebellum South. After the Civil War. All right, so peace.